He was the most vocal. He would go on these endless rants. It would look like this. Commerce between master and slave is despotism. It's the worst form of evil. Well, I don't mean for me personally. I'm not giving up my Madeira wine and my lifestyle, but I mean for the rest of you. I mean, that just doesn't work, folks. You can't do that. I know that we're all a little like that, right? Sometimes we say one thing and do another, but at least we don't write pamphlets and talk in the public square on a rant like that. He hated slavery. No, he didn't. Not if he owned slaves. Sorry, you don't pass. Thomas Jefferson? Okay, George Washington? He was one of the nicer, quote unquote, of the slave owners. Folks, there's no such thing. No. Sorry, there's no such thing. If you're owning other people and you're practicing this lifestyle, no. So his people had to work from the minute the sun was up to the minute it went down. And that's a long duration in time, especially in our warmer months here. You know, it's about 6 in the morning to 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. That's not a lot of free time. Often Sundays would be off. They were fair when you at least compare them. I'm talking about the Washingtons. When you at least compare them to other people in this vast system of slavery. But they owned over, collectively they owned over 317 slaves is what the Washingtons owned. Maybe you heard that George Washington freed his slaves. Here's the problem. Listen to the pronoun. He freed his slaves. Do you remember I said he married the wealthy Martha Dandridge Custis? The slaves weren't his. She owned most of the slaves. The only thing it was in his power to change is the 130 or so, 125 or so that were technically his slaves. Those he had some, ability to free. And for the most part, he gave it over to his wife because he didn't want to have her without them. So he made it so that on her death, that these slaves would be freed. Good news, she let them go a few minutes earlier than they were scheduled to go. Yes?
When he freed them, did they stay anyway?
Now that is something kind of interesting. They didn't, as soon as they were freed, many of them chose to stay, which is interesting. Well, it is their home. It's where their kids are, and maybe the husband that's enslaved lives on the next plantation over. Many of them choose to stay. That absolutely did happen. Of the 300 or so, he could affect the destiny of about 125 of them or so. Close to 200 remained enslaved even after the death of his wife. But this is the part that really gets my blood boiling. I don't know if you realize that you are in the middle of a cemetery right now. Oh, okay, well, where are the gravestones? Nope. Nowhere. Somebody heard of this, and I think this is so wonderful. It's a school group, I think, that started this. They found river pebbles and painted them because we know the names of many of these people, and we can't locate them, but we know they're here somewhere, okay? We don't know whose name goes with what body, but we know they're here. Folks, we have buried dogs with more ceremony than these people are buried with. So you are surrounded by the remains of these people right here. In modern technology, we can do miraculous things, and these archaeologists that you see might be part of the team of people that have done this. But is it ultrasound technology? Is that how you all located the bodies?
So it is ground penetrating radar. We use that.
Ground penetrating radar.
Yeah, so we use that first to get a rough idea of where to look, but then we still have to go and make sure that what it's saying is actually true.
Yes.
So we just dig down far enough to find the top of the grave shaft, and that'll give us enough information.
Okay, and it is not your intention to disinter these bodies?
We have no.
But you are
no
mapping.
plans.
You
We're
are
mapping where they are. Yes. We work with the descendants too as to what they want to happen here.
Oh wow!
So yeah, we don't know who is buried where, but we know who lived and worked at Mount Vernon, so they've organized themselves.
Okay, this is very good. That's very helpful. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
So they probably actually were in caskets. We found a record of Washington ordering some of his enslaved carpenters to make caskets for some people that had died.
Thank you. That's a little better.
And then they were originally marked too.
Okay, how were they marked?
So they had small earthen mounds on top of them.
Small earthen mounds.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something.
So we can see that archaeologically, and there's also historical records talking about that. So that's where we get the number of about 150, because someone came here and wrote that they saw about 150 mounds out here.
Thank you so much.
Those mounds are lost to us today, but
at least there was something.
Once.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was very, very helpful. All right. Now, on the other hand, I am not one of these that thinks that George Washington doesn't matter because he did something bad. Folks, we all do stuff bad, and I mean really, really bad. So let's take it with a balance. But on the other hand, I just want to say it this way, no passing grade for these guys on this one subject. The mentality, the logic we were told, I remember learning this as a kid in school, well, if they made the issue of slavery a big deal, then we wouldn't have been a union. We wouldn't have been able to come together. Well, let's just pass that problem on down the road. Okay, let's just do that. 600,000 Americans dead because Americans killing Americans made for the highest death toll in any of our wars. 600,000 dead, and we're still living with the ramifications of this horrible institution. So there we have it. All right, on a much lighter note, let's talk about the ladies. Guess who saved the mansion? The women did. The ladies did. Here's a plaque that commemorates the enslaved people here. Where did the plaque come from? The ladies, I'll tell you. The mansion did not pass to a direct descendant. I told you there was none. Instead, it was to nephews. Sometimes you can't control your nephews, can you? And he wasn't around to do it anyway. So sometimes the nephews took care, sometimes they didn't. And ultimately, it wasn't really his fault, but one of the last of the nephews, he just didn't have the means to take care of the mansion. It went into total disrepair. And this was around 1840. There was a ship coming down the Potomac River, a bunch of people on board, and one of them, this woman, trained her spyglass up here, looked at the mansion, and was mortified. She said, there's George Washington's home, and the roof of the porch is being held up by ship's masts, totally sagging and about to collapse. So what did she do? This seems so odd, except that I lived this. She wrote to her daughter, Anna, you need to fix this. Okay, does anybody have a mom like that? Yeah, I've got a mom like that. Diane, the toilet doesn't work. You need to fix this. Okay, Mom. Do what I'm told. Okay, and she wrote to her daughter down in Georgia and said, Anna, I believe it was Georgia. Anna, go fix this. Anna did. So Anna started writing letters to everybody she knew and told them, write more letters. We're going to save the mansion. We are going to collect all these funds. And unbelievably, they did it. They gathered $200,000. And what was the biggest hurdle? What do you think was the biggest hurdle? The nephew. I ain't selling my mansion to no women. All right, he didn't talk like that, but he might as well have. And had the hardest time convincing the man to sell it to the women. The Mount Vernon Ladies Association ultimately succeeded. That's who owns this mansion to this day. Yeah, so all of your funds go to them, which are turned around and directly put into projects like this, where we have all kinds of restoration and things to relive the past. Yes.
How old is that monument?
This is 1983 or 4. 1983. Questions, comments, photos? Let's do it. Yeah.
On one of the signs over there, it said that the original estate was 8,000 acres. Is it still that size?
No, it's not still that size. Thank you for asking. And that was the number I was missing. 8,000 acres is what he used to own. Now it's close to something hundred. So, and a bunch of us that live here in suburbia live on the original land of Mount Vernon, which is really fun. Yeah. Okay, onward ho. Take your photos.